Have you ever been doing something so normal, so absurdly boring and routine, and somehow still end up at the center of a neighborhood scandal? I'm talking about the kind of afternoon where you're just out in your front yard, raking leaves, enjoying a little peace and quiet, when suddenly you become the star suspect in a crime drama. In your own driveway. That was me. My name's Walter Henderson. I'm 68 years old, a retired systems engineer, and 3 months ago, my wife Gloria and I moved into a lovely home on Mulberry Lane, right in the heart of Silverbrook Estates. We picked the place for the maple trees out front, the quiet cul-de-sac, and mostly, to be closer to our grandkids. Retirement, we figured, should be calm, predictable, boring even. We were fine with boring. Turns out, boring wasn't on the menu. It all started on a crisp October afternoon. The kind where the air smells like dried leaves and chimney smoke, and the sky is a soft blue that feels like it came from a painting. I was out front raking the yard. Nothing glamorous. Just one man, one rake, and 1,000 stubborn maple leaves. I had my radio tuned to jazz. Gloria had just brought me a mug of hot cider, and I was genuinely content. Then she showed up. Across the street, a woman in a neon pink track suit emerged from her porch like some suburban warden. Her name, though I didn't know it then, was Connie Beckett. She had one of those little yappy dogs that looked like a mop and barked like a siren. She watched me for a few minutes, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. At first I thought maybe she was just nosy, or bored, or both. But then she pulled out her phone. At first, I figured she was just checking email, maybe texting someone. But no, she was calling 911. I didn't know it right away. I couldn't hear her exact words, not over the dog, not over my jazz. But I could tell from her posture, from the way she was pacing, from the way she kept pointing across the street at me. I thought, surely not. But sure enough, 10 minutes later, a police cruiser rolled slowly down Mulberry Lane and parked right at my curb. 2 officers stepped out. One young, clean-cut guy, Officer Jensen. The other looked like he'd been on the force since Reagan. They didn't have sirens, didn't come in guns blazing, but their presence, silent and heavy, still hit like a brick. Officer Jensen approached me calmly. "Good afternoon, sir. We've had a report of suspicious activity in the area." I paused, rake in hand. "Suspicious?" He nodded. "A neighbor called about a possible trespasser on this property. Said a man matching your description was casing the house." I laughed out loud. I couldn't help it. "This is my house," I said. "I live here." Connie came rushing over then, breathless with self-righteous panic. "He's lying. I've never seen him before. He just showed up a few months ago, and now he's pretending to rake leaves." Officer Jensen turned toward her, brows furrowed. "Ma'am, we're handling it." I did my best to stay calm. Showed them my ID. It matched the address. I even invited them inside to look at the framed wedding photo of Gloria and me on the mantle, right under a sign that says, "The Hendersons, ST 1982. They verified everything. Apologized, even. But Connie, she wouldn't let up. She kept hissing things like, "You can forge a license. You can fake paperwork." I know what I saw. That night, Gloria sat me down with a bourbon and said, "Walter, you need to understand this woman isn't just nosy. She's dangerous." She wasn't wrong. And she wasn't done. What Connie didn't know, what nobody in the neighborhood knew, was that, just a few weeks before this little incident, I had been voted in as the new president of the Silverbrook Estates HOA. It was supposed to be a formality. The old president, a guy named Ron, retired and moved to Florida. Nobody wanted the job. I volunteered because, well, I like systems. I like rules that make sense. I like fairness. Connie had no idea, but she was about to find out. The very next day, I checked the HOA records. Turns out, Connie Beckett had been a part of every committee you could think of. She'd helped write half the bylaws. She was the kind of person who left anonymous notes about your trash bins being half an inch out of alignment. She wasn't just the neighborhood busybody. She was the self-declared queen of Silverbrook. And now, I outranked her. So I did what any reasonable HOA president would do. I filed a formal harassment notice, complete with the police report, the 911 call record, and a description of what happened. Under Section 9.3 of the bylaws, which Connie herself had helped write, any resident found to be harassing another could be issued a written warning, followed by fines for repeat offenses. Gloria asked me if I was doing it for revenge. No, I said. I'm doing it because she weaponized the system against me. I'm just showing her that I know how to use it too. A week later, Connie received her first official HOA violation letter. She was, predictably, furious. I saw her tearing the envelope in half right there on her porch. Then she crumpled it and threw it at her mailbox like it had insulted her personally. But I wasn't done. Over the next month, I did a full compliance walk of the neighborhood. Not to target Connie, to target everyone. Equally. The Sandersons had a fence 2 inches too tall. The Martinezes had Christmas lights still up in March. The Woods hadn't trimmed their hedges in 6 weeks. And Connie? Her little dog, Marshmallow, had been repeatedly spotted off-leash, a violation of Section 11.1. She received 3 more notices, 2 with fines. She didn't pay. She didn't comply. She did, however, organize a community meeting to demand my removal. She printed flyers, put them in mailboxes, called it an emergency, claimed I was destroying the fabric of the neighborhood. Gloria said, "Are you going to that circus?" I smiled. I wouldn't miss it. That Wednesday, I walked into the Silverbrook clubhouse with a binder under one arm and a quiet determination in my chest. Connie was already holding court, riling up the crowd with half-truths and full-blown drama. "He fined me for my welcome sign," she yelled. "He's spying on us, using the rules to punish people he doesn't like." When she saw me, she narrowed her eyes like she was facing off with a dragon. I stood up, calm, measured. "Actually," I said, "I fined you for having an unapproved sign color. Green is not on the HOA palette. Section 3.7b, which you helped write." There were chuckles, nervous ones. Connie bristled. I opened my binder and went down the list. 7 letters, 3 households, violations ranging from minor to major, all documented, all enforced equally. "This isn't tyranny," I said. "It's maintenance. It's fairness." Someone in the back clapped. Then another. Then silence. Connie tried to push a vote of no confidence. Nobody seconded it. She left early. The next week, she paid her fine. By January, her sign was painted navy blue. Her dog was on a leash. She no longer watched me from behind her curtain. She no longer yelled across the street. We never became friends. But one spring morning, she walked by while I was pruning roses. She nodded. Not a smile, just a nod. But it was enough. Sometimes, the best kind of justice isn't loud. It doesn't come with sirens or shouting or dramatic showdowns. Sometimes, justice comes with patience, paperwork, and the quiet satisfaction of watching someone finally follow the rules they thought they owned. And that, friends, is how I got falsely accused of trespassing while raking leaves and ended up reminding an entire neighborhood that the rules, like leaves in the fall on everyone equally. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to stand your ground against a neighbor who thought they ran the place? Ever had to use the system to fight back? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about what real fairness looks like, especially when it shows up with a rake and a name tag that says president. See you down the line.